This is Deb Cron, a master trainer for the CDC's Diabetes Prevention Program. Today's question is, what has changed from the 2012 to the 2016 curriculum? In looking at the 2012 curriculum, you'll see that those first 7 weeks are skill building. So very safe topics to talk about as your group gets to know each other. They're looking at nutrition and physical activity. Then as they move into weeks 8, 9, and 10, it's more environmental. So what is around you? Still fairly safe topics, but might be a little bit more uncomfortable when we're talking about problem solving and choices that you make when you're eating out. And then on weeks 11 through 16, you see that it gets into more sensitive areas, the psychological or emotional. So I really like the way they have laid this out so that your group has that opportunity to get to know each other before they're talking about some of those topics. As you can imagine, if you put managing stress or talking back to negative thoughts, in those first couple of weeks, you'd have a pretty quiet group. So looking at and comparing to 2016, they have kept somewhat of the same format. In the first 7 weeks, they're talking again about skill building. But you'll notice that they moved activity up. So they're talking about physical activity before food, before nutrition. And then weeks 8 through 15, they're similar topics, but you can move those around any way you choose to. So if it's at a time of year where it's the holidays, you might want to put manage stress in that area, or coping with triggers, or you might simply want to leave them just as they are. The only one that they ask you to leave where it's at is week 16 for staying motivated to prevent type 2. That prepares them to move into the second 6 months. So looking at the second 6 months, you can see that 2012 looks pretty busy, a lot of great topics. And when you look at 2016, there are a lot of similar topics, but they added talking about sleep and carbs and a little bit about type 2 diabetes. So they've made some really nice changes, and I really do think it's very important having the discussion on sleep and how it affects the choices that you make as far as activity, nutrition, and just lifestyle change in general. So they've done a really nice job with this. You can move these in any order that you like. So you can even leave it up to your group if they want to have some input, or you can just go right through the list as it is. If you are using the 2012 curriculum and wish that you had moved to the 2016, they like you to complete the first 6 months of the 2012 before you would change to the 2016. A few more differences. Looking at the reading level, in 2012, it was a 6th grade reading level, and they've moved that to a 4th grade. They also used to count fat grams, where they don't do that any longer. They more have a focus on simply calories. And I think that's a good idea because we want to make sure that everyone is getting all the food groups, no judgment as far as good foods, bad foods, and they figure that out pretty quickly as they go through the program and learning to make better choices. In 2012, they required food logs, and I have to say personally, I really like that. In 2016, they simply encourage it. But if I were to have a participant who was struggling, maybe get to week 7, week 8, and not much was happening for them, I would ask that they start completing food logs, because that usually tells a story of what's going on. Oftentimes they're getting a lot of hidden calories that they're maybe not remembering, but by writing them down or using an app, they're able to capture that and make the necessary changes, and progress usually moves along pretty quickly then. Scenarios and pictures. In 2012, they didn't really have scenarios or pictures. In 2016, they've made it very colorful. They've added a lot of scenarios, which I think are a good thing because it's very relatable for your participants. You know, your participants might be thinking something and are a little hesitant to share it, but if they see it in pictures and scenarios, they can really identify with that and recognize that, you know, I must not be the only one that's going through this if it's their in black and white.
So stateofwellness.org, we do several trainings a month, typically 100% online, although we do them in person. If you have questions, let us know. See you next time.